Today we're going to make a classic grilled cheese and tomato sandwich. So let's get started. The first thing to do is to butter our bread. So we have some butter here that's at room temperature, salted or unsalted. Wouldn't really matter too much. It's more of a preference thing. And we're going to butter the outside of the bread. And what's important here is you make sure that the butter actually gets out to the edges of the bread and not just in the center, because it's the butter that's actually going to help to conduct the heat from the pan to the bread and make it toast nice and evenly. So make sure you get all the way out to the edges, and you can be fairly generous with the butter here. Flip that over and do this last one here. So I'm going to make 2 sandwiches here with 4 slices of bread and a couple tablespoons of butter. On top of the bread, we'll put the cheese. So I've sliced this cheese already, fairly thickly, actually. I would call it almost, almost like a 1/4 of an inch thick slices of this mozzarella cheese. We'll place that on our bread, making sure to cover the whole piece of bread. And our tomato here, as I mentioned before, our Nature Sweet tomatoes, they're sort of ideally sized for 1 per sandwich. So to maximize the tomato and not have any waste, I'll start by just removing the core of the tomato so that I can use the entire tomatoes. And then I'll go ahead and slice these. I'm going to say that slice is about about a 1/4 inch thick, something like that. So that should work quite well here on our sandwich. There's 1. And there's 2. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt right now and a little bit of pepper right now to those sandwiches. And we also like to add some fresh torn basil sandwich, because that great affinity for tomatoes that basil has makes the flavor sort of really pop. So a little bit of basil, not the stems, but just the leaves. We'll go ahead and we'll put those sandwiches in the pan, and you should be able to hear it sizzle as the butter melts. And that's a good indication to you that the heat is transferring from the pan to the bread, and it'll become nicely golden brown in short order. As this cooks, we'll be able to press it down a little bit and make the sandwiches a little bit more compact, and they'll be able to hold their shape nicely. So from time to time, we'll take a little peek. And when we see that the sandwich has developed a nice color, we can flip it over. And also notice that the cheese is starting to melt, which is great. That's 1. That's 2. The tomato that got away. So we're looking for a nice, even caramelization like we have here. Now, if you didn't use enough butter and you didn't quite get out to the edge, it wouldn't be quite as nicely caramelized as these are. So what we want to see is a nice, crisp caramelization of the bread, and you want to see the cheese inside just starting to melt. So while that's cooking, I'll go ahead and serve my soup, a nice roasted tomato soup. It's flavored with garlic and basil. It has all the nice roasted, toasty flavors in there. So that'll be part of our lunch dish today. And we can give them a little press down to make sure everything's holding together nicely. Check that second side for doneness, almost done. 10 seconds to go. So I have my serrated knife ready to go. And there are my tomato sandwiches. I'll go ahead and I'll cut them with a serrated knife. A little bit of a bias. And then we can go ahead and add these to our plate. A little bit of fresh basil. And there we have our grilled cheese sandwich with Jubilee tomatoes. If you like, you can rub the outside of the sandwiches with a little clove of garlic to give it a little bit of a garlic flavor. Otherwise, you can leave it just plain. But nice and crispy, and you have those delicious Jubilees tomatoes inside, served with a fresh roasted tomato soup. I think that's a great lunch entree.